In February of 2020, I was able to pass the CompTIA Security Plus on my very first try. And today I want to talk to you guys about how I did that and give you guys tips on how you can do the exact same thing. And we're going to start right now. So yes, I passed the CompTIA Security Plus. This was of course back in the SY0501 iteration. It is currently the SY0601. So stay tuned on this channel to learn about some differences as well as resources. I am actually trying to build out a study guide on this channel that you can leverage. So definitely hit that subscribe button. But anyway, let's think about February of 2020 and then other things that happened in 2020. I can't think of any significant things that happened in 2020. That must have been one of the last things that I did that was actually like a feel-good story for me prior to COVID. So it's a good memory, right? Anyway, I wanted to talk about how I passed it on my first try because I actually did something that I'm happy I did that if I didn't do, I would have failed that test. And we're going to talk about that here in a moment. But the first thing I want to mention is if you are a cybersecurity major, which I was at the time, I got my degree in cybersecurity, it definitely is not enough to just pass this certification on its own. I had to spend quite a lot of my free time studying and just digging into the course material and taking a ton of practice tests to get this done. And one of the things that I'm happy that I did that I think I would have legit failed if I didn't do was I delayed taking the test. Initially, I had it scheduled for like December or something, and I wanted to get it done before, the holidays, and I could just spend that time just kind of enjoying life. But instead, I pushed it out to February because, the date was getting a bit closer. I felt like I was not prepared enough. And so I decided, all right, I'm just going to have to delay it. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. And I would have failed if I didn't do that. I also would have failed if I just tried to walk into the exam, thinking that my college courses would have been enough to get me through it. It is about a mile wide and it is a foot thick. That's about how people have told me about it. It is a very, it is a broad exam and it goes into pretty much all of it in a fair degree of detail. And you have to know about it because the questions themselves are testing you for understanding on each thing. So, you really got to get a good enough understanding that you can walk in feeling confident that you're going to score 750 out of 900. One of the other things that I did was I took a ton of practice tests. I actually found an app for iOS that I downloaded onto my phone. And so whenever I was on the train, going back and forth from class and back and forth from different, jobs that I was doing at the time, I was taking these practice tests and they would literally take about 5 minutes. But they had longer practice tests. And then I also invested in longer and more thorough practice tests online. And if I didn't invest that time doing that, like just pretty much every little bit of time that I had throughout the day, I legit think that I would have failed because a lot of it is understanding the logic behind some of the questions. For instance, on just about any exam you're going to take, and this is one of the things that in college I absolutely hated, but it's the questions that are like, what's the best option? And it's you're gonna have several options that are good, but what's the best? And that's one of the things that in the practice exams that I was just getting my butt handed to me. But I'm glad that I took that time to practice to really, get those questions correct. Because again, we're talking about a fundamental level of understanding on this exam that you can't answer a question like that if it were to appear on this exam. Another thing that I did was I abandoned my entitlement. And the reason I say that is that's why I delayed the exam because I felt like I was entitled. I felt like, I'm a cybersecurity major. I've been, kind of around this stuff for a long time, like longer than I've, been studying this degree. So I feel like I should be able to pass it. Like I feel like that's just a thing that should happen. But if I kept that attitude and I walked into the exam room, I would have failed. I would have embarrassed myself. Like I would have had a really, really bad grade. But because I just decided to take a breath, understand that I need to take some more time to just kind of go through all these details and really understand them, then, that is really what allowed me to just push the exam back a little bit, take that extra time to study, and I passed, so that's good. Now here are some resources that I use. Now I've already mentioned that on this channel, I'm trying to build a CompTIA Security Plus study guide, but, and you're free to use that right now, but it is still very much incomplete. One channel that I personally believe that I would not have passed the CompTIA Security Plus if I hadn't just absolutely crushed was Professor Messer. He has a playlist that is huge, and it covers everything you need to know about the CompTIA Security Plus. He even has live streams every month, just where he throws out practice questions, and it's great. So definitely give Professor Messer a try, and check out his website. He's got some materials on there that you could take advantage of. Of course, one of the other resources that I used was Google and just Googling things. Sometimes you're just not gonna be able to find it in the same resource that you would really like to find all of your information. So just use Google. Google has everything. It's great. And then of course, another resource we talked about was practice tests. A ton of practice tests. Just use a practice test. And then of course, time. You know, you only have so many hours in the day, you have so many things going on, but it is absolutely critical that you take time out of every single day and you study for the CompTIA Security Plus. Even if you're on the train, that's a perfect time to do this. And if you need extra time, push the test back a little bit and then take it whenever you're ready. Don't waste your money and walk in and fail it, because that's foolish. You're wasting your money. Think of it as you got one shot at this thing, all right, and you want to pass it on that first go. And yes, it's not the end of the world if you fail. It's in fact, it's perfectly understandable. It's a kind of a challenging test. But that being said, you want to just go at it, just dig into it and invest and really just go hard. And that's kind of where the accountability aspect comes in. Like, I had to hold myself accountable, with my time management. There were so many other things that I would have rather done. I would have rather, procrastinated. I would have rather hung out with friends or, hung out with my wife. We had just gotten married about this time. So, there's a billion other things that I would have rather done. But instead, I decided this exam is important to me. The certification is important to me. I'm going to take the time out to succeed at it, and it paid off. So it's absolutely worth it. Now, what are the benefits if you implement all these things and you do pass and you get your Security Plus? Well, you can get a job in cybersecurity. This is seen as a fundamental certification. It is looked at as kind of like your entryway into InfoSec. And especially if you're coming in from another industry, it's a pretty cheap certification. It's around, I want to say like $250 or something like that. And it takes a little bit of time to study for, but once you get it, you're going to have a pretty comprehensive grasp on the fundamentals of cybersecurity. And that's going to open up so many things for it. Not only will it open up a job, but it'll open up, later career opportunities. Like, you get that and then you're just able to explore everything. You can get other certifications. You can decide, okay, now I want to dig into blue team. I want to dig into red team. I want to dig into governance and policy. And it's a pretty awesome cert to build from. So that's how I did it on my first try. If you've passed the Security Plus, hey, let me know down in the comments. Let's all celebrate together. That is an awesome accomplishment. And if you're studying for the Security Plus, hey, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to find a way to help you out and assist you in your journey. So with that, we'll see you next time.